Big story here, guys, on Geely, who are catching up to BYD. Geely is the Chinese auto giant who own Volvo, Polestar, Lotus, Lynk & Co, and Zeekr, and the Geely Galaxy brand. They just reported one of the strongest quarters in their entire history. These numbers are actually huge. The sales are record-breaking, and the competition with BYD is getting shockingly close. Much closer, I think, than anyone expected. Plus, for the first time, Geely has revealed how it plans to hit 3 million sales a year, how it will expand overseas, and how it's fixing its biggest weakness, the Zeekr brand. Let's get into the facts. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Geely's profits have surged. We're talking massive Q3 results here. Geely's financial results were released yesterday and they blew past expectations. Here are the headline numbers. Net profit, US $538 million, up 59% year on year. Q3 revenue, US $12.55 billion, up 27% on year. That is the highest quarterly revenue in Geely's automotive history. The sales performance driving it is even more impressive for a few reasons. One of them, record numbers of these vehicles were EVs. The sales price of these cars is remarkably low and competitive and incredibly affordable for what you're getting. Value for money is just crazy. In the third quarter alone, Geely sold 761,000 vehicles. That's growth of 43% compared to last year, plus 8% compared to Q2, and the highest quarterly sales in Geely's history. For the first 10 months of 2025, 2.5 million vehicles were sold by Geely. That's 83% of its full year target of 3 million. It's definitely going to exceed the 3 million target. And that means it's grown 44% year on year. However, in October alone, Geely sold 307,000 vehicles. That put them within just 30,000 units of BYD. Less than 10%. Geely is obviously growing faster than BYD. BYD isn't actually growing right now. So it's interesting to see this nemesis, which, to be honest, I've been talking about for more than a year, saying they could end up being bigger than BYD. And they do appear to be trending in that direction. Last year, BYD outsold Geely 2-1. Yeah? This year, the gap has collapsed to only 3 percentage points of market share. Geely is now the only Chinese automaker matching BYD's growth rate. In fact, it's exceeded BYD's growth rate easily. The biggest driver of Geely's success is its new hybrid and EV sub-brand, Geely Galaxy. The brand alone has, well, it's pretty much exploded this year. In October, 127,500 sales just for Geely Galaxy brand, up 101% year on year. 1,002,000 sales from January to October for the Geely Galaxy brand. That's growth of 187%. Geely Galaxy, the brand, they have actually grown faster than any other car company this year. Galaxy now represents 40% of all of Geely's sales. And Geely is so desperate to expand Galaxy's production that they're converting an old SAIC General Motors factory in Shenyang, converting a Lotus factory in Wuhan, and speed tracking Galaxy production lines nationwide. If this pace continues, Galaxy alone will outsell almost every Western brand in China. And honestly, if this pace continues, they will be the biggest global automaker in the world by 2030. This is why people are saying Galaxy is Geely's DMI, going directly after BYD. And, well, it's true. Geely and BYD, they've had a bit of a war of words recently, publicly, in a public global meeting. That was about the discounting going on in China. And, yeah, I mean, Geely versus BYD is the legit competition here. For the first time ever, Geely is competing with BYD in all categories. Hybrids, Geely EMI versus BYD DMI. Plug-in hybrids, Geely EMP versus BYD DMP. And I think Geely's hybrids are a bit better than BYD's. Smart driving, Geely Chinli versus BYD Tencent. Infotainment, very similar, but very similar price brackets. The Galaxy E5 versus the BYD Atto 3. The Galaxy E5 is the EX5. And the EX5 is bigger than the 803. It's better quality. It looks better. It's the same price. Galaxy, they have a vehicle that competes with the Song Plus. So the Seagull, BYD's Xing Yuan is much bigger than the Seagull, but it's a similar price. It outsells the Seagull pretty easily. Geely is now the only legacy origin Chinese brand that can genuinely match BYD's tech stack and match it in terms of having models and pricing and everything else. This is why investors consider BYD and Geely the two true national champions of China's auto industry at this point in time. Geely's exports, they're also exploding. New markets in 2025. You've got the United Kingdom, Uzbekistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Australia. And the biggest move, Geely just acquired 26% of Renault Brazil. This gives Geely immediate factory access, distribution and dealer networks, a strong foothold in South America. This is what the CEO said. The 2026 will be the first year Geely exports EVs at scale, new energy vehicles at scale. By 2027, Geely expects over 1 million overseas sales per year. This would make Geely one of the largest exporters in the world. While Galaxy is booming, Zeekr and Lynk & Co have struggled somewhat. Q3 combined sales were 140,000 plus 13%, US dollars 4.44 billion in revenue plus 9%, US dollars 840 million in gross profit plus 50%, 19% gross margin up from 13.9%. So margins are improving, but Zeekr's sales growth has been slow. Lynk & Co is up 24%, but Zeekr only achieved half of its annual target. Geely executives admitted this. They said, "We prioritize tech over user experience. Zeekr didn't communicate enough with customers." Now, I think the tech point is probably fair. The technology of Zeekr's cars is amazing. The software experience, not as amazing. Geely has now forced a major integration. Zeekr plus Lynk & Co are merged. All overlapping costs will be cut. And there is 50 new Zeekr Direct stores that have been opened. Home test drives have boosted Zeekr's sales. And the result? Well, Zeekr 9X, a US dollar 70,000 SUV, delivered 20,000 units in its first month. I don't think there's any other $70,000 vehicles in China, US $70,000, that have sold 20,000 in a single month. And that's a pretty big turnaround. Geely's profits per car and the One Geely strategy. So Geely has revealed an interesting metric. The metric is profit per vehicle in Q3 was $720, US $720. So just about 1,100 Australian dollars. That is up from $650 in the first half. And it's actually very high for a Chinese automaker. Geely says the new One Geely strategy will cut duplication across branding, factories, R&D, sales networks, marketing, and software systems. Interestingly, guys, I've had this conversation with a few people in the industry. I've said Geely's got it's kind of a lot of brands. They should consolidate them. They'll be more efficient. I remember having this discussion with a few people last year, and obviously Geely have been listening into my conversations and have decided that was a good strategy. Now, I'm joking, of course. I'm sure Geely don't listen to anything I say at all. Executives say all equity transfers and integration will be completed by the end of 2025. This will significantly increase margins in 2026. What's next for Geely? Well, Geely's 2026 and 2027 roadmap are interesting. There will be 1 to 2 new models launched every quarter, so between 4 to 8 models a year. New EVs are coming for the Geely Galaxy brand, new premium models for Zeekr, new SUVs and hybrids for Lynk & Co, major expansion of overseas factories, first large-scale EV export year. So they're going to focus on exports, particularly EV exports and plug-in hybrid exports in 2026. The targets, 3 million domestic sales, 1 million overseas sales, so a total of 4 million sales worldwide. They'll easily surpass, I believe, Honda and Nissan in 2026. 50% of all Geely sales will be EVs. Profit margins improving above 20%. Geely is now China's other auto superpower. You can't really say now BYD is the big daddy. It's now both of them. They're both up there in a race together. And Geely is now the very clear closest competitor BYD has ever faced. This is a legit rivalry. I think you've got to take this seriously. We're looking at record sales, record profits, a Galaxy brand growing faster than anything in China, actually faster than any brand even Xpeng, overseas expansion accelerating, Zeekr turning around, massive integration ahead. I mean talking about Zeekr turning around, look at the new Zeekr 001. The tech there is the best in the industry. You're talking about 1.3 megawatt charging, being able to charge a battery in 5 minutes. That's the only car in China that can do that. Plus, it gets standard all-wheel drive with, I believe, 700 kilowatt, can do 0 to 100 in 2.9 seconds. That's the standard base model. I mean, craziness. Anyway, if this growth continues by 2027, Geely could actually be the world's #1 automaker in total sales, the world's #1 auto exporter, the world's #1 hybrid manufacturer, and one of the biggest EV makers in the world. The next 2 years are going to be absolutely wild. Will Geely be the biggest in the world by 2027? Probably not. By 2030, very, very likely. Very good chance. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.